I have more to talk about right off the top of the show. We're bringing a little bit more hope into our lives. So we're going to wander on over if you want to follow me, because I'm going to be joined by talking with Pastor Kevin Mass from Hope City Church is joining me now. Thank you very much for being here.
Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Let's talk a little bit when it comes to Hope City Church. It's almost bringing the hope back to our community. Isn't that right?
Everybody needs hope.
Yeah, that's true.
We all need hope. Let me ask you, when you are presented with the idea of church, or if I were to invite you to church, what picture do you get in your mind of that?
I would think of a old building with stained glass and a cross on the top.
Yeah, so we're trying to change that impression a little bit. I think there's maybe three different types of people out there. One would be somebody who has an impression of church is full of old, boring people that are judgmental and hypocritical, and there might be a little truth in that. Or maybe they've had a bad experience with church, and maybe they've been hurt, maybe they've felt preached at and judged to, or it hasn't really met their needs. But I think there's a whole other element of people out there as well who just have this idea that church isn't relevant to my life. It just doesn't speak into my life. It has nothing to do with the way that I live. And so at Hope City Church, we believe that everybody does need some hope in their life, and that we can provide some value and some meaning to their life.
I love that. Now, you also talk about it's almost like a wall, a church without walls.
Yeah.
Right? So what does that mean?
Yeah. So to a certain degree, we're trying to recover the original intent of what it meant to be church. Now, you said it was like a building with a cross on top, and maybe it was full of stale people and stale music and a group of people singing karaoke together and songs we don't know sometimes, right? But originally it was really meant to be a movement. When Jesus came and he launched his church, he sent people out into the world. And then in the first couple of 100 years in the Roman Empire, that just snowballed, and millions of people were impacted because it was people whose lives had been changed by the gospel message of Jesus Christ, who came to heal and who came to bring hope for the lost, and who came to do good and bring compassion and justice back to the world.
Right.
And those people brought that message and did life on life with other people. And then as more people received and believed that message and their lives got changed, that's when churches would spring up. And so we want to return to that mentality, that element a little bit, and get outside of the church walls and introduce hope to people and introduce that kind of compassion and love to people outside of the church.
Let's talk a little bit about your background, how you evolved to be the pastor that you are today, Kevin.
Yeah, that's a long story, but I think like anybody else, I was trying to find some value in my identity as a person and my purpose in life in a lot of things, like my career. I almost sacrificed my family working on my career, my family life, 2 cars and 2 daughters and a house, and hey, maybe we can have a cottage and a boat. And I really put all my hopes into those things. And when you start to have trouble in life, as I did, and things start to unravel, and there's trouble in the marriage, there's trouble at work, and your career starts to crumble, when you base your identity and your purpose in life on those things, all of a sudden you start to question your value and your identity as a person.
Right.
And so it was in that time, in my time of need, that, well, I responded to God's call at that time. And that's when I found my value and my purpose, my identity in who God designed me to be and who God created me to be. Now, for me, that meant I became a pastor. Not everybody needs to become a pastor or a missionary. But we can bring his purpose in our lives wherever we are, whatever job we do, in our homes, in our schools, in our workplaces, and find our purpose in who he designed us to be.
Wonderful. So you actually have every Friday, first Friday of the month, you break the walls, and it's not inside a church, but you have a gathering.
Yeah.
Yeah, what happens?
Yeah, there's, I really like coffee. And so we really like to have coffee house events. And Casa Cappuccino on Dunlop Street across from Fred Grant Square, right in the heart of downtown Barrie, has been so kind to allow us to use their space the first Friday of every month. We just bring in some musicians, we play some music, songs you would know. They're not some weird Christianese songs, but songs from the radio. And these artists will come in and they'll play some music, and we'll just have a chance to interact with people and meet people. It's a non-threatening atmosphere where if I invited you to church, it might be weird and uncomfortable, but if
You
we
invite
meet,
me in for coffee, that's fine.
yeah, if we have a coffee, maybe we can have a conversation about life and about what it means to have hope and what it means to be the church and not just go to church. And at the same time, we like to partner with organizations in the city of Barrie who are doing good in town.
Well, people are definitely going to have to stay tuned with Hope City Church and get in touch with you to find out more information. Thank you so much for coming and joining us
so
on
much for
today's show.
having me.
Not a problem.